Welcome to the Grab the Map podcast, where we don't just look at it, we grab the map. I'm your host, John Crutchfield, and wherever you're listening to this, whether it's Apple Podcast or YouTube or Spotify, I just want to say thank you for listening. And every single time we jump on here, we try to share value with you. If you really appreciate that value, do us a favor and just subscribe or like or give a review to this podcast, because it really does help this podcast reach more people. Excited today to get a special guest right on the phone or right on the line. That tells you how old I am. Right on the phone here. Gary Wilson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, Sean. I appreciate always like teaching and preaching, man, you know?
Teaching and preaching, man. I love that you get to share, share your journey with other people. And I see it right there on your screen. EXP Realty Global Investor Agent. Tell us a little
Hmm.
bit about yourself, Gary.
Well, I guess to start off with, all of us have had good breaks and bad breaks in life. And one of my really good lucky breaks was my freshman year at college. My freshman year roommate was a guy named Socrates. His parents were Greek immigrants. His dad was a huge investor, and he showed us how to invest. I mean, we literally bought our first property right out of school. It was a four-bedroom, two-bathroom ranch in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I'm at the closing table, Sean, like he's like pounding his chest, saying, "If you boys do what I tell you to do, you won't have to work for anybody when you're 35 years old." Of course, we're like 22 and 23, and we didn't listen, man. We bought a boat and we bought a something to tow the boat. We're like living the life. And 35 years old, I wake up, I'm like, I should have listened to that man. He since passed away. So I started investing when I was 35 and retired when I was 40 from the corporate world, and then took that platform, like that bought me my freedom, and I was able to launch businesses mainly related to real estate, like brokerage and property management and appraisal. And that's what led ultimately to me teaching. It was accidental. I didn't know I was going to be a teacher in life. It just, I was invited to teach. And I'd actually been on the radio. That was first. And I said, yes, I did that. Got a call the next week, said, "Hey, man, people love that show. You're a real dude, authentic and genuine. Can you come teach?" And I said, yeah. Did it for free. Did that for about 2 years, and I got a lot of business out of that, man. Just helping other people succeed, you know. And then that led to me getting into the whole teaching thing, and I really fell in love with it. I still get excited today, just like I did all of it. That's been more than 20 years ago. In fact, 22 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. And dude, I wake up every morning by 5 a.m. I hit the ground running. I don't, I love this whole thing. I love the feedback you get from people when you help them. So now we got a big team of agents all over the country, and we serve investors from all over the world, 13 different countries, investing here in the good old U.S. And it's a reminder of me how lucky we are to be here, because a lot of stuff we do, you can't do in other countries, not the way we do it, you know. That's
Yeah.
the short version. That's the quick version, you know. Mm.
Yeah, good US of A. Thank you for everybody serving overseas that's helping us have the freedom to do what we do. But also thanks to the entrepreneurs that are putting forth the ingenuity. You know what it takes to run a small
Hmm.
business. You know what it takes to grow a big
Hmm.
business too. So tell us a little bit about your, I guess, your journey. And I know you got to go back a little bit to when you first got started. Now you get a lot of referrals, your name's all over the place. I Googled you and you're the first person that comes up. So you're the first Gary Wilson, and both of those names are out there. So that tells us that you have a reputation. Start back from the beginning. Like, I know you were taught to flip your first house, but
Yeah.
you still had to start businesses, right? So, what do you think
Yes.
are important tips for listeners that are starting businesses and getting started building their name and reputation?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is I went to college to study computer science. I was like the last person you'd ever would think would be an entrepreneur, but it was in my blood, it was in my genes. I just didn't realize it till later on. But in any case, just got to tell everybody here, if you're listening, if you're driving, don't try to write this down. Just you can re-listen to it later and take notes then. But I got to tell you, I was naive, and I'm grateful that I was naive because I didn't know how much effort it would take to build a business. I just launched into it because I wanted to do it. And I thought, you know what? I'm doing really well in investing. I'm doing well at teaching other investors. I'm doing well at helping agents learn how to work with investors. I'm going to build a business around that. So I built a brokerage company. And this sounds crazy, but we launched it the first business day in January 2008, right when the recession had just went in full steam ahead. That train was heading down the track the wrong way, man. And people thought I was nuts. But you know what? We grew sixfold. We went from 0 to 50 agents. I started off with like 8 agents. We grew massively in the first 3 years. And the reason was we worked with investors because we were investors. I still am an investor. And we attracted investors. And if you think about those years of the recession, man, it was REOs. Crazy. It was like going to a buffet line and 90% of it was REOs. you know,
Right.
and so what happened, Sean, is we're working with investors. I mean, we did like over 3,000 deals in those few short years. But because of that, all the asset managers that control the REOs paid attention to us. See, they have tracking systems. They know which agents are producing and they know what you're selling. If you're a traditional old school type agent, you might get a few deals, no doubt about it. But if you have a track record of cranking out massive amounts of transactions, all those REOs, you're going to get a lot of REO deals. And that's exactly what happened. We had all of them: HUD, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA. We get all of them and all the asset managers that go along with them. And we rode that horse to the end of the line. But I was done. I'm like, holy crap, I don't have to work another day in my life, man. I had a 250 rental units, 4 businesses. But you know what? God has a way of teaching you who's in charge. And he didn't just use a 2x4 upside of my head. He used a 4x4 multiple times. And this is where the pain comes in. So, anybody can succeed in an up market. And I know you're thinking, well, Gary, it was a down market. Yes, it was down, but for us, it was up. We were capitalizing on all that was happening in the world and we were serving people while we were doing it. But when it came over, found out, my marriage was in trouble because I didn't pay attention. So I lost that, broke my back in 2 places. So I wasn't able to walk or drive. And it was all at once. And the judge told me, you can't walk, so you can't work. And Mrs. Wilson needs money. So you got to sell a lot of those properties you've been building up over the years. And I'm like, are you nuts? I mean, this was the bottom of the recession. We hadn't even come out of the recession. It was 2011, 2012. So I made the statement. I said, I'd rather go to jail. I've worked my butt off on these properties. My lawyer said, well, he can arrange that. So the moral of the story was you can't fight City Hall. But in any case, a lot of that was removed for me. I gave it up. I let it go. I sold it and did a merger. And I did a merger with my brokers. And the company I went with um, wanted me to teach their agents how to work with investors because that was how we made our brokerage famous. Um, and I said yes. So that turned into me traveling all over the US and Canada, literally day by day, week by week. But it was perfect for me because I was on the run. I wanted to run away from where I was. I wanted to leave it all in the past. And I wanted to look to the future. And I wanted to see this beautiful world we lived in. So it was absolute, again, God's with the pendulum swing back the other way, saying, here's this golden opportunity for you to travel and see the world and be free. I mean, man, I had no debt. I had zero debt right now. I didn't have any to worry about payments of any kind. I didn't have to worry about gas bills, electric bills, because I sold everything. I was living in Ritz Carlton. I was like, I'm living a life, man. But that got old too because I was missing everything. I was missing my family. I was missing my home. So my life has literally been like a roller coaster ride in the middle of a hurricane. But those downhill runs in the middle of the eye when it's smooth and blue skies and sunshine have made it all worth it. When you build a business, what I'm getting at is be prepared. You're gonna have ups and downs. It's going to happen. Just accept the fact that you're gonna have some challenges in life. But when you have a golden nugget in front of you that's compelling enough to keep pulling you forward, you will always wake up and your higher self, your spiritual self, your vision is not going to let you give up. That's the key is this you got to get up every day hitting the ground running, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's good times or bad times, that was the big lesson is I don't care if you're up or down, hit the ground running every damn day. Excuse my French.
No, but I love it. I love it because you said, hey, you're excited about serving other people. You still excited about getting up at 5 a.m. and doing whatever it takes. you like teaching people, you like helping other people. And I've
Mhm.
always found that when you help other people, it always comes back to you. When you're serving other people, it always comes back. I also always like talking to people who've been through the downs because,
Mhm.
if you're like me, you were buying in 2018, 2019. Right now is kind of a down. We've
Mhm.
got interest rates high, we've got cost high, we've got labor high. And
Mhm.
so there's all these reasons to stop getting up and going to work when the ones of us that are still out here looking for deals, hunting them, helping other people get into the business, we're still able to have an income and make a good life because we're still getting up every day and going to work.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I know you mentioned that you train other agents. I know that that's a
Mhm.
part of your business right now. I mean,
Mhm.
what does Gary get up every day right now and do on a daily basis?
I'm glad you asked this. You're one of the very few people who really asked me about my habits. And I
Yeah.
learned that lesson a long time ago. The people that are where you want to be, find out what their habits are, because habits
Yeah.
are everything. So I usually wake up sometime between 4 and 5. Naturally, I have an alarm clock, but only use it. I set it every half hour, starting at 5:30, just to tell me what time it is. Because what I'm doing is I'm saying my prayers and I'm meditating. And that whole process takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes even longer. And I start every day that way. Then I exercise, physical exercise, and I'm looking out over the mountains, man. It's just beautiful. So I get myself prepared spiritually, right? Every morning before I do anything. I don't even eat. I mean, all I do is go to the restroom. That's it, man. I don't take phone calls. I don't do emails. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So I have mentally, spiritually, physically prepared. And now I'm here to tell you, I still have challenges in life. Believe me, I've got some serious challenges right now, like my family, my mother, my daughter. I mean, just stuff that just would shake you, rattle your cage, to the core. But I'm so prepared. Those things don't derail me. And what I want to say here is, everybody listening, you're going to have challenges. Okay, you're going to have some of them are some you had to do with, some of them are not. But you got to remember this: everything is an experience. Everything is a circumstance, and you are bigger than every circumstance in life. Sometimes those circumstances tend to pile up on you, and I get it. But remember, you, the person, right, the real you. I'm not talking about your personality and your ego. I'm talking about it as your higher self. This is the you that when God talks, that's who God's talking to. When you're grounded at that level, when you're connected at that level, you can keep things in perspective. You recognize how valuable life is no matter what happens. That's why I met people who were quadriplegics. I met a guy who had part of one hand. That's it, part of one hand, one finger functioning out
One
of all
thing.
his limbs and hands and feet. And that dude was one of the happiest people I've ever met. I met him when he was first starting out speaking, and he was only charging $5,000 to speak at an event. I just saw him this last year. He was making $100,000 a speech now, right? And he blows the audience away. So I'm telling you, I don't care what your circumstances are. I love you. I believe in you. I trust you. I know it's painful, but I also know that you are way, way bigger than anything and everything that you're going through. Just keep getting up in the morning, hit the ground running. You have to keep swinging the bat every single day with whatever you got. I don't care if it's one finger. You swing that finger. I'm telling you, goodness is going to come your way.
I love it. I love it. So let's dive back in here. I heard you say you get up early in the morning, you start with your meditation, you
Yeah.
start with your prayers. Then what's next?
So the exercise, then I eat. I go out on the deck, sit out there, look at the mountains, and eat my breakfast. Come back in, wash up, and then I hit the ground running. I mean, I turn on the computer, turn on the phone. I coach people all day long.
Okay.
Um, I do podcasts. I'm guest on podcasts like this, and I have other people who are guests on mine.
Getting the
Um,
message out there, introducing yourself to folks.
yes, yeah, that's it, and helping people. I mean, I've got people all day long who saw a podcast or heard one and email and call and say, I don't know if you can help me. I've got a problem. And sometimes they're blown away that they actually reach me. I mean, I really am just a regular person. I know it sounds crazy to say that because if you just heard most of my story, but the reality is it helps me stay grounded. all those
Yeah.
challenges I've had. I mean, broken back is a serious thing. Not being able to breathe is a very serious thing. I've had that happen too, multiple occasions, and that's been solved, thank goodness. But it helps you be humble. So I want people to know you can reach out to me and I actually will talk to you. But I'm helping those people. And what's interesting is sometimes I never hear from them again, but sometimes it's years later. I've had this happen 4 times in the last year. People I knew 20 years ago, teaching them, coaching them how to invest in real estate, have reached out to me and say, Gary, I just want to tell you, I'm so glad you got the same phone number because I'm retired now because of what
Yeah.
you taught me. And they're like 40 years old and they're freaking retired, man. And
Yeah. Isn't
that
it
kind of
cool when
feedback,
people
Sean, you
actually,
can't put a price on
yeah,
that.
they take action based on what you've taught them and you've changed their life forever.
Yeah.
And you're doing that every day, man. Thank you for doing that. This call is a great example. So,
Yeah.
Gary, I think, not only am I hearing that you have the habits of a winner, I'm also
Mhm.
hearing that you have a ton of grit through downturns. Um, I want to hear a little bit more though about what you coach people on. So,
Yep.
let's just say I'm coming to you for coaching and I'm trying to grow my business or I'm trying to sustain a real estate business and I'm an investor. What are some
Hmm.
things that you're going to tell me, hey, this is what you need to learn, and these are some actions you need to take?
Yeah. It's an awesome question. So we lead on our team. We have a basically a saying which is success is a 3-part formula. So part one is you got to have the right education. You always lead with education. Part two is the right information. And the cool thing is the right education shows you how to identify and use the right information, which leads to number three, which is the right action. So right education plus right information plus right action equals right results. So when I first meet somebody, what I do is I just build rapport. Let them talk, let them tell me their story. And I try to discern. I ask them questions to help me evaluate what is more important for them right now. Let's just focus on business, for example. I want to know, are you if you can only do one thing between building a business and investing in real estate, which one would you do? And I'll let them talk and explain why. And then when I listen to their explanation, sometimes I'll see gaps in their understanding. And we're all the same way. This happens to all of us. I still have gaps in my understanding. That's why I
Yeah,
constantly
me
learn.
too. Me too. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. So if I can see those gaps, and by guys, I just want to tell you this. Anybody can learn to coach if you have a servant's heart. You got to love people to teach and coach. If you do, you can learn to read people and listen and understand them. And based on your life's experiences, you can see where they have gaps. So I just help them plug their gap. If someone says, "Hey, Garrett, I want to flip 150 houses a year." Well, I know right away there's a gap there because I'll say, you can make a lot of money flipping houses, and it is a lot more fun than buying rentals. But here's the challenge: when you flip a home, you shoot the goose laying the golden egg. You get paid one time, and that's a nice paycheck, no doubt about it, and it's a lot more fun. But with rentals, you have ownership, right? And one of the keys to success is building businesses and investing in real estate is you have to have ownership, and you got to have cash flow. So people that focus solely on cash flow, like wholesaling, I always try to advise them and consult with them and say, look, it is a good way to get started, but don't get addicted to it because it can be easy once you learn the ropes, but you never have ownership. You got to own some brick and mortar. You got to own some dirt. You got to own real estate. It's going to grow in value. It's going to take time, but I promise you're going to wake up 20 years later, 30 years later, all those properties are going to be paid off. You're going to be sitting on a gold mine and you're going to be in control. People will be coming to you to borrow money, you know? So that's one of the keys is look for the gaps. And one of them, the biggest one I see, Sean, is a lot of people don't have a method of ownership where they acquire ownership. It's sometimes it's not fun because you got to be patient, you got to be disciplined. And when you own stuff, you own all the problems go with it too. Stuff breaks down, roofs go bad, refrigerators break down. But there's systems for that. So I don't want to scare anybody. I just want to tell you, embrace the truth, right? And the truth will set you free. And then as you experience these things, you'll learn the ropes, you'll learn the systems. So I teach everybody, I teach them how to flip, how to buy rentals, how to manage rentals, how to wholesale, how to do commercial. I teach them how to get money. I mean, creatively and conservatively and conventionally. Um, all that stuff, anybody can learn because I know if I can learn it, you can learn it. But you got to start with step one, which is let's figure out where you are right now. This is the truth part. We got to know the truth about where you are right now, who you are, where you are, what you know, who you know, what do you have to work with. I don't care if you're completely flat broke or if you're negative. I've had people come to me to hundreds of thousands of dollars in a negative. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. That's not what matters. What matters is that we know it. We know the truth. We embrace the truth, and we start from there. So my first property, for example, I didn't even buy a whole house. I bought half of a house. I don't mean
Yeah.
a half of a duplex. I mean Socrates and I bought a house together. He owned half, and I owned half. That's where we started because we had nothing. We just got out of college. We didn't have anything. I had an old car put together with string and coat hangers and crap like that. That's I'm
That's
serious. It
an
was
old
horrible.
car. That's an
Oh, it
old car.
was a horrible Buick Skylark, man, green. It didn't have any AC, any stereo, nothing. That was not a good car for going out on a date.
That's funny. My first car was a Buick Century. So
Oh wow,
for
yeah,
a little bit further along, I think it did have AC and I think it did have speakers. Oh,
that's funny, man.
you made me laugh. But yeah, I think absolutely investors need to have the right education and right information and the right action. And it
Yeah,
helps when they're guided by people who have the experience. So I'm glad you have
yeah.
a heart for doing that. So I'm assuming right now on the roller coaster that you talked about, you're on a high point and
Mhm.
now's a good time. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm doing now is I finally figured out how I can just teach and I call it teaching and preaching. Coaching, training, and all that. So what I did is I realized there was a huge gap in the real estate industry when it came to brokerage and investing. The brokerages were not teaching their agents how to invest, let alone work with investors, right? And the investors were frustrated with the agents. So I said, I'm going to solve that. So I decided I was going to have a national team, not just a local team, but a national team. And all the big brokerages, I was at one of them, the big box companies, the franchise models, and they're always like, no, just do it our way. They're all the same. I'm not going to, they all have their good points. Coldwell Banker, Remax, Keller Williams, they all have something they're good at. They do, but they're a franchise model. That's old school, guys. That's yesterday's technology, yesterday's business structure. That's like riding around in a horse and buggy compared to today's industry. It's
Yeah.
evolving right in front of our eyes, as fast as it can be. You can't imagine how fast things are changing. So EXP not only allowed me to build a national team, they helped me do it. I mean, I'm not going to tell you where I was before, but I was there for 8 years. I had an organization of 78 people. Not too shabby. Here, I had 78 people in the first 6 months. I had made more money here in passive income, revenue share in my first years, 26 times more than I did in profit share in the entire 8 years at the prior company. And I only had agents in 3 states. Here, I got agents already in 38 states. So, what I do is I teach the agents how to invest and I show them how to implement that by working with other investors. So they're earning while they're learning. They're earning and implementing at the same time. Now, I know you're going to say, well, what about them buying properties? They will. But I need to make sure they got the academic knowledge, the skills, the talent. They need to be immersed in real estate investing with investors who they're also going to learn from. And then they'll know when they're ready. All of a sudden they realize, geez, I got all this commission coming in. I got cash. I know how to invest because I just helped people buy 30, 40, 50 properties in the last year, right? That's operating from strength, financial strength, intellectual strength. That's how you succeed. Don't ever go out there and gamble. If you're guessing on something, do not pull the trigger. If you're guessing, I think this was a good deal, I'm going to take a chance. Do not do it. Call Gary Wilson so I can talk you down off the edge. Do not make a mistake. You can make a mistake in real estate and still recover. That's the beautiful thing about real estate is you can make a mistake and still recover. Try to make a mistake in the stock market and see what happens. But in real estate, it's a longer process. That's why I want you to be intellectually strong, financially strong, make well-informed, educated, decisions. Take action based on education and information. You'll grow. It'll be slower start, but the rest of your life will be 100% success. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Is if you have some guidance along the way, you can make some measured mistakes, right? Not just go so deep in the hole that you feel like you can't get out. Because a lot of it is mental, right? A lot of it is
Mhm.
mental. Um, this is great. I'm so glad that you jumped on here with me today to share a little bit about what you've got going on.
Mhm.
Tell folks how they can connect with you, and offering where they might be able to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. Well, there's two locations. So what I do now, so everybody understands, is I really work more with the agents now, teaching them how to be leaders in their communities so that they can then teach the investors. They can use my platform to do it. I give them all the material. They can do all that. So we have two websites. One of them is called realestatewithgarywilson.com. Not very glamorous, but it turns out Google says that's what we should name it. So that's what we named it. So that's where everybody can see all the training we have, the books we have, the podcasts, the blogs, everything. Now, if you're already an investor and you're also looking for agents who know how to work with you, or you are an agent trying to figure out your game, go to globalinvestoragent.com. And that's where you can get a phone call with me or a Zoom call. You can come to Monday Night Live. Just go on there. You can see Monday Night Live. There's a registration link. Register for that. It's totally free. And then just so you know, we don't recruit anybody, we don't sell anything, we don't buy anything. It's straight up education and networking. You're going to be able to meet investor agents from around the country and other investors, by the way. We bring in specialists that are good at raising capital. We find a lot of off market deals. In fact, that's half of what we do. So go to globalinvestoragent.com, especially if you're an agent right now. Believe me, I know what the market's like. I've been in it for 22 years as a broker. I see what's happening to production. I know what's going on with interest rates. This is not time to panic. This is time to prepare. And the way you prepare is go to that website, start getting some information and some education, and set yourself up for success so you can invest for yourself while you're helping others. That's the game. That's the game.
I love it. You're investing in yourself, you're investing in other people and waiting on time to do its thing. And if you're keeping some
Mhm.
of these investment properties and keeping some of these rentals, then you're also waiting on those things to be paid off so you can start having some serious cash flow.
That's it. Yep. Wealth
Yeah.
and income. You got to build the base. And by the way, the real estate guys, I thought was the end game. It's really not. It's the foundation upon which you launch other businesses. That's what I learned from Robert Kiyosaki, and man, he was right. I tell you, you'll have a lot of fun building businesses, but start with real estate. Get some under your belt. Help other people do it. Remember what Zig Ziglar said? Just help enough other people get what they want, you'll be able to get plenty of what you want. And if
Plenty of
what you want is real estate, then help other people get real estate. It's all related. It's all aligned. Everybody needs a place to live. It ain't going anywhere. It'll be here as long as human beings exist. So why risk all the other stuff? Just do what works, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just do what works. All right. So you just prompted a follow-up question and we're about to wrap up. But you mentioned, hey, you need to keep some rental properties. This is where the long-term wealth is. Somebody that's new though, somebody that's getting in and they're just kind of starting to do their first few deals, they're living off of this, right? They're needing to live. Should they keep a job? Should they flip and then save some money on the side? How do you normally advise people?
Yep. Well, I did when I really started investing aggressively. I was 35 years old. I did work for 5 more years. I was at a big national bank working on mergers and acquisitions, and so I was busy, and I did my investing on the side. But I accumulated in those 5 years, I think it's 72 units or something like that. But I also got my license. So if you're just starting off, let's say you have some cash, you have some money. Okay. Now, this is going to sound contrarian, but I highly encourage you, if you do have some cash, to go in and pick up some rentals. I bought two fourplexes right out of the gate, right? Put down my 20%, finance the rest with a conventional mortgage, whatever the rate was at the time, 8 or 9%. That's funny.
Hmm.
Today, people think seven is bad. We think us old timers think seven is awesome. But in
Yeah.
case, now, if you don't have money, you're going to have to start off getting your license, helping other people invest, and or wholesaling. Now, before you get excited, there's a lot of rules about this stuff right now, guys. You need to be aware of it. Do not take a chance on wholesaling, especially if you got a license. I'm telling you, if there's one way to do it right and a whole lot of wrong ways. So that's you definitely want to reach out to me get some training on that. I'll give you, there's a lot of stuff we give away for free, books for free, YouTube videos. I mean, you can get all kinds of training from me. You don't have to spend a dime on, but that's if you don't have any money. Okay. Now, if you have a regular job, you do have some cash flow and you have like some home equity, you know, you can flip a house right out of the gate. But here's the problem with flipping. So you make a mistake in a rental, you're still going to be okay. You might have to move a tenant out and do some remodeling, put a new tenant in. But you make a mistake on a flip, right? And you can't sell that house the way you wanted to, and you just put a lot of money into it. You may have to take a loss on that sale, or you turn it into a rental, but it won't cash flow as well because you spent too much on the remodeling.
Right.
So I know people are always enamored by flipping. I get it. I love it too. But start with like a duplex or something like that. Or if you don't have any cash at all, start with a wholesaling, and get your license, get your real estate license. Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the way to think about it. Have your main income stream, then you've got your license that's also going to prep you for an additional income stream. Then you're starting to invest alongside your active income, right? So that now
Yep.
you've got some rentals that start to appreciate, start to help you with your tax burden. It's just so many positive effects of owning rental property. So all right,
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor this too long. Very good to meet you, Gary. Very good to have you on this podcast. I love people that listen to the whole podcast. So if you've reached it to this point, you definitely want to like and subscribe, leave a review because it's going to help somebody else find this podcast. Gary, I know you mentioned your websites where people can reach you, but you're also available on social media, right?
Yeah, if you go to Facebook, you can find me on there. You can find me on all the social media platforms. The YouTube channel is Real Estate with Gary Wilson YouTube channel. We have dozens of playlists, hundreds and hundreds of videos. But you can just look, any Instagram, LinkedIn, you'll find me. Just look for Gary Wilson. You'll see me out there.
Gary Wilson. I'm subscribing to your YouTube channel right now. It's Real Estate with Gary Wilson. Looking at it right this second.
Yeah,
YouTube tips for agents, man. This is pretty cool. I'm
yeah.
glad to
Yeah,
see
Zach,
this right here. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. If you
You're
want
welcome.
any help from me, you can find me anywhere at Grab the Map on social media. You can also find me at Jonathan Crutchfield. You can email me if you want at grabthemap@gmail.com. This has been wonderful. Gary, again, thank you for doing this. I know it's time that you can't get back, so thanks for sharing. Don't
I'm
just
glad
look
to
at
do
it,
it.
folks. Grab the map. Talk to y'all later.